Have you ever opened your fridge, spotted a familiar dish, and thought, it's probably still fine? I used to think that way too, but the older I get, the more I realize what we assume is safe might be the very thing we should be rethinking. The fridge gives us a sense of security. We trust it to keep our food fresh, our bodies healthy. But here's the thing, some common foods, the kind you likely have sitting in there right now, can quietly change over time. And when they do, they may carry risks that aren't obvious, especially for those of us over 55. As we age, our bodies just don't handle chemicals, bacteria, or preservatives the way they used to. What once felt harmless can now carry real consequences. In today's video, I'm sharing 5 everyday fridge items that doctors have warned me to be very cautious with. You might be surprised, especially by the last one. If protecting your health for the years ahead matters to you, this is one video you'll want to watch all the way through. And hey, if you find this helpful, give it a thumbs up. It lets me know you'd like more content like this. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. I'd love for you to be part of this growing community of folks taking charge of their health. At the end, drop a 1 if you liked it, or a 0 if you think I can do better. I'm always listening. Let's start with something familiar: bacon, ham, and sausage. There's something about the smell of bacon sizzling in a pan that brings me right back to the kitchen table of my youth. Sunday mornings, a cup of black coffee in hand, the kids still in pajamas, and that savory aroma drifting through the house. It felt like the rhythm of life. For many of us, foods like bacon, sausage, or holiday ham aren't just meals, they're memories. Even now, I still enjoy these foods. They're quick, tasty, and comforting, especially when you're cooking just for yourself. But sometime in my early 60s, I started paying closer attention. I realized that the very things we've trusted for decades might not be as harmless as they once seemed, especially once they've been sitting in the fridge a few days too long. The issue isn't just with the food itself, but with how it's processed. Smoked and cured meats are preserved using nitrates and nitrites. These chemicals keep the meat looking fresh, tasting great, and lasting longer. But over time, in the slightly damp, cold environment of your refrigerator, those nitrates can transform into nitrosamines, compounds linked to cancers of the stomach, colon, and esophagus. Source: World Health Organization. What's most unsettling is that nitrosamines don't change how your food looks or smells. That leftover ham you plan to fry up tomorrow, it might look perfect, but it could be harboring something your eyes can't detect. As we get older, our bodies aren't as efficient at filtering out harmful substances. The liver slows down, our immune system weakens, and cellular repair isn't what it used to be. So a risk that might have been minor at 30 could be much more serious at 70. My friend Harold, 72, told me about his own wake-up call. He lives alone and used to buy large packs of smoked sausage, something he's loved since childhood. He'd keep them in the fridge and eat them bit by bit over a week or more. During a routine checkup, his doctor asked him about his diet. When Harold mentioned his meat habits, the doctor paused, then said, "That's something I'd like you to rethink." Harold was surprised. I figured as long as it wasn't spoiled, it was fine. But as the doctor explained, it's not about spoilage, it's about chemical changes you can't taste or smell. Since then, Harold made a few smart adjustments, buying smaller packs, freezing extras, and keeping track of how long things have been open. He still enjoys his smoked meats, but with more peace of mind. Here are some simple tips I've picked up, and I think they're worth sharing. Buy only what you'll eat in 3-5 days. Once opened, the clock starts ticking. Freeze leftovers promptly. Wrap tightly in foil or freezer bags to keep air and moisture out. Defrost safely in the fridge, not on the counter. Room temperature thawing invites bacteria. Cook thoroughly, but don't rely on heat to fix everything. Cooking won't remove nitrosamines. Label and date your food. It's easy to forget when you open something. We don't have to give up everything we enjoy, but at our age, being mindful about what we eat and how we store it can help us enjoy more years with fewer regrets. Next up, baked potatoes. Sounds simple, right? Well, not always. Baked potatoes feel like one of the safest meals you can make. Wrap one in foil, toss it in the oven, add a little butter or cheese, warm, filling, comforting. I used to bake a few at a time and keep the extras in the fridge for later in the week. It seemed easy and harmless enough. but something happened that changed the way I think about that habit completely. Here's the deal when you bake a potato and keep it wrapped in foil, especially if you leave it out on the counter or even put it straight into the fridge still wrapped, you're actually creating the perfect low-oxygen environment for a very dangerous bacteria called Clostridium botulinum. That's the one that causes botulism, a rare but serious type of food poisoning. It can lead to paralysis, breathing problems, and in some cases, even death. The scary part, you won't see, smell, or taste anything unusual. The potato will look totally normal, but it could already be unsafe. I thought I was being careful until my neighbor George, who's 72, had a close call. George lives alone and loves baked potatoes. One night, he baked 4, left them wrapped in foil on the counter, and planned to eat the rest over the next few days. The next afternoon, he reheated 1 and ate it. That evening, he started feeling lightheaded. His speech got slurred and he had trouble breathing. Luckily, someone got him to the hospital in time. The doctors confirmed it was botulism poisoning. After that, George changed the way he handles food, and honestly, so did I. It doesn't take much to stay safe. Here's what I've learned and now do every time I bake potatoes. Always remove the foil after baking. Keeping them wrapped traps moisture and creates low oxygen, the perfect setup for bacteria. Don't leave them sitting out. If you're not eating them right away, let them cool a bit, then store them in a sealed container in the fridge within 2 hours. Eat them within 1-2 days. Even if it still looks fine, don't stretch it too far. Reheat thoroughly. Make sure the inside gets to at least 165 degrees F to kill off anything harmful. When in doubt, toss it. You won't be able to see or smell the toxin. It's just not worth the risk. I still love baked potatoes, especially on chilly nights, but I don't treat them like they're no big deal anymore. At our age, it doesn't take much for something small to turn into something serious. Being careful isn't about being scared. It's about taking care of yourself because you matter. Now let's talk about soft cheeses. They are delicious, but not always as safe as they seem. I'll admit it, I'm a fan of fancy cheeses. Brie, Camembert, Gorgonzola, that rich, creamy texture, a little bite with crackers and wine in the evening. It feels like a treat, especially now that I'm older and not eating big meals late at night. But I learned a hard lesson when my friend Harold, he's 74, got seriously sick from a small wedge of brie that had been sitting in his fridge a bit too long. Now, Harold's not careless. He always stores his food properly. The cheese was in a sealed container in the fridge, but with soft cheeses, that's not always enough. Their high moisture content and soft texture make them a perfect home for bacteria and mold, even in cold temperatures. One of the most dangerous bacteria linked to soft cheeses is Listeria monocytogenes. And here's the thing, it can grow in the fridge. That's what makes it risky for folks our age. Our immune systems just aren't as strong anymore. According to the CDC, people over 65 are among the most vulnerable, and the fatality rate for Listeria infections in older adults can reach as high as 30%. On top of that, soft cheeses are prone to mold, and not the good kind. Unlike hard cheeses, where you can cut off a moldy corner and keep going, mold on soft cheese often spreads deep inside. Some of these molds produce mycotoxins, nasty toxins that can damage your liver and increase your risk of cancer, according to the World Health Organization. Harold told me he figured, if it's in the fridge, it's probably fine. That piece of brie had been open for nearly 3 weeks. He thought it looked okay, so he ate it. 3 days later, he ended up in the hospital with food poisoning. Thankfully, he recovered, but it was a real wake-up call. Since then, he still enjoys his cheese, but he's a lot more careful now, and so am I. If you love soft cheese like we do, here are some tips I swear by. Only buy small portions and eat them within 7 to 10 days of opening. Wrap your cheese in wax paper or parchment paper, not plastic wrap, so it can breathe a little, then store it in a sealed container or zip-top bag. Keep it in the coldest part of the fridge, usually the back of the bottom shelf. Don't store it in the fridge door, it's too warm and inconsistent. Don't store it next to strong-smelling foods. Soft cheeses absorb odors easily, and it can mess with the flavor or hide signs of spoilage. If you see mold, toss the whole piece. Don't try to cut it off. With soft cheese, it's already spread. Want something safer? Switch to hard cheeses like cheddar, Gouda, or Parmesan. They're lower in moisture, less likely to mold, and still packed with flavor. I'm not saying you have to give up soft cheese, but at our age, the way we store and handle food really matters. It's the small things, like tossing out a questionable wedge of cheese, that can make a big difference for our health. Don't let one little indulgence take a toll on everything else you've worked to protect. Let's talk about something most of us keep in the fridge: cold cuts. Convenient, tasty, but not always as safe as we think. I'll be honest, I used to always keep a pack of deli meat on hand. A few slices of ham on toast, a quick salami snack, maybe some turkey on a cracker. When you're living alone, it feels like a blessing: fast, easy, no cleanup. But after I turned 65, my doctor told me it was time to start paying closer attention to how I store and eat foods like these. And cold cuts were high on the list. Here's why. Most packaged deli meats, whether it's ham, turkey, bologna, or salami, are treated with preservatives like nitrates and nitrites. These chemicals help the meat keep its color, flavor, and shelf life. But over time, especially after the package is opened, these preservatives can turn into nitrosamines, compounds that the International Agency for Research on Cancer (IARC) says may cause cancer in humans. And these chemical changes happen faster when the meat is exposed to air after opening. Your fridge temperature fluctuates from opening and closing too often, or when the meat has simply been sitting too long and starts breaking down. The problem is, you can't see or smell nitrosamines. A slice of ham might look just fine, but inside, it could already be turning into something your body doesn't want to deal with. Especially if you're older like me, and your body isn't as good at cleaning up cell damage as it used to be. And there's another risk that surprised me: Listeria. This is a bacteria that can grow in cold environments. Even if your fridge is working properly, once that package is open, the chance of Listeria starts to go up day by day. For younger folks, it might just cause a stomach bug, but for seniors, it can lead to high fever, severe muscle pain, and in serious cases, meningitis or even death. I remember my friend Diane. She's 76 and lives alone. Every week, she'd buy a pack of ham and make herself a sandwich each day. She didn't think twice about leaving it in the fridge for 3-4 weeks. If it smells okay, it's probably fine, she used to say. But one day after lunch, she started feeling dizzy and nauseous. She ended up in the ER with a suspected Listeria infection. The doctors told her what most people don't realize. According to the USDA, opened cold cuts should be eaten within 3-5 days, no matter how they smell or look. And there's something else I never paid much attention to when I was younger: the salt. Deli meats are loaded with sodium. And if, like me, you're watching your blood pressure or dealing with heart or kidney issues, that's not something you want to ignore. High salt and nitrosamines together create what I call a double whammy for your health. So, what can we do to enjoy cold cuts without all the worry? Here's what's worked for me. Buy fresh sliced meat from the deli counter instead of pre-packaged stuff. Ask when it was sliced. Split the package and write the open date on it. I keep a marker in the kitchen just for this. Store it in the coldest part of your fridge, usually the back. Avoid the door where the temperature changes every time it opens. Use it up within 3 to 5 days. Don't wait for it to smell off. Just toss it if you're unsure. Try making your own cold cuts at home. I boil or roast a chicken breast, slice it thin, and store it in small batches. No preservatives, no chemicals, and tastes even better. Check the label. Some brands say no added nitrates/nitrites, but even those might use celery powder, which naturally contains nitrates, so read carefully. Now, I'm not saying cold cuts are the enemy. I still enjoy a good sandwich. I just eat them differently now, smarter, safer, because at this age, health isn't something I take for granted anymore. And honestly, the small changes we make, the things most people don't even think about, can make a big difference in the long run. Let's wrap up with something many of us enjoy now and then: pickled foods. They might look harmless, even nostalgic, but there's more to the story. Think about it: crisp dill pickles at a summer BBQ, those bright red pickled eggs your family used to bring out at holidays, or colorful pickled peppers on the side of a roast. For a lot of us, these things bring back memories. And because they are soaked in vinegar, most folks assume they're perfectly safe to keep in the fridge for weeks or even months. I used to believe the same thing. Vinegar equals preserved, right? But as I got older and started reading more about what actually happens in those jars, I realized there are a few things we need to watch out for, especially with store-bought pickled products that come packed with artificial colors and preservatives. See, many of the bright colors in those jars don't come from nature. They come from artificial dyes like yellow 5 tartrazine, red 40, and blue 1. Sure, the FDA allows them, but here's what most people don't realize. Over time, especially in acidic environments like vinegar, these dyes can start to break down into chemical byproducts. Some studies in food and chemical toxicology suggest these byproducts may damage cells, and with long-term exposure, could potentially increase the risk of cancer. Now, 1 or 2 bites won't hurt you, but if you, like I once did, keep a jar of brightly colored eggs or peppers in the fridge for months and snack on them regularly, that adds up. And the thing is, you won't see or taste the change. These chemical reactions happen slowly, silently, and you wouldn't know a thing until years down the line. As we age, our bodies lose the ability to process and eliminate toxins as efficiently. What used to slide through the system without issue at 40 can hang around and cause problems at 70. And there's more. Many commercial pickled items also contain preservatives like sodium benzoate. On its own, it helps keep bacteria out. But when it comes into contact with vitamin C, which is found in some of the veggies that get pickled, like peppers or cucumbers, it can form benzene, a known carcinogen. That's not a scare tactic, it's chemistry. Now, that reaction doesn't happen overnight, but if you leave the jar in the fridge for 2 or 3 months after opening, the risk increases. And let's face it, most of us don't eat a whole jar of pickled peppers in a week. These things sit around, sometimes for a season or more. I remember my friend Leonard, who's 81. He loves pickled red eggs. Every holiday season, he'd make a big batch, stick them in the fridge, and eat 1 or 2 a week. He figured, they're in vinegar, they won't go bad. But when his grandson, a food science student, explained how vinegar doesn't stop chemical changes, just bacterial ones, Leonard was shocked. Now he eats them within 2 weeks tops and only buys naturally colored ones. So what can we do if we still want to enjoy these tasty little extras? Here's what's worked for me. Choose products with natural coloring. Look for ingredients like beet juice, turmeric, or paprika instead of artificial dyes. Avoid jars with yellow 5, red 40, or blue 1. Check the label. It's easy to miss, but it matters. Use open jars within 2-4 weeks. Write the date on the lid. It's easier than trying to remember. Store them deep inside the fridge, not in the door. The temperature in the door fluctuates too much. If the brine looks cloudy, foamy, or smells odd, just toss it. Better safe than sorry. Try making your own. A little vinegar, some water, salt, and fresh herbs, and you've got safe, delicious pickled veggies without all the extra stuff. I still enjoy pickled foods, but I've stopped keeping that neon red egg jar in the fridge all summer. I don't pick the brightest colored jar on the shelf anymore just because it looks fun. Because at this stage in life, food should bring comfort, not quiet health risks. And with just a few small changes, we can keep enjoying the flavors we love without worrying what they might be doing behind the scenes. Before we wrap up, I'd like to ask you to take just a moment, just one quiet moment, to think about your fridge, not as a cold box for leftovers, but as a place that's quietly shaping your health day by day. Over the years, living on my own, I've learned something important. What we leave sitting in the fridge, those familiar foods we don't think twice about, can sometimes carry risks we never saw coming. And at our age, small mistakes can have bigger consequences than they used to. The good news is you don't have to overhaul your entire kitchen. Simple steps like writing the date when you open a package, reading labels a little more carefully, or storing leftovers the right way can go a long way in protecting your health and your future. So let me ask you, what surprised you most in today's video? Is there something in your fridge right now you might take a closer look at? What's one small change you're planning to make? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. I do read them, and they truly motivate me to keep making videos like this for our community. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and click that like button. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. We've got more simple, practical tips to help you stay healthy and enjoy this chapter of life to the fullest. Thank you for watching, and until next time, take care. And may your fridge always be a friend to your health.